Multiple WWE stars have been pulled from in-ring action. Plus, Tony Khan rejects an ROH TV deal, and a SmackDown star takes a shot at their former company. It's all in the Cultaholic wrestling news right now. We are sending our best to two WWE stars who may not be back in the ring, at least in the immediate future.
No, we'll start with Ricochet. You obviously must have seen the fatal four-way match that took place on Monday Night Raw for an eventual shot at the Intercontinental Championship. The Miz came out on top there, but it wasn't really meant to be that way. Ricochet eating a pin when he wasn't meant to eat a pin. He kicked out. He was very much on autopilot after getting rocked earlier during the match. Meltzer has given us a little bit of an update on this, saying he was not loopy and has added, Ricochet is all right, but as far as when he'll be cleared and all that is concussion protocol, you just don't know. So maybe don't expect to see him in the near future. Apparently he doesn't remember anything of the match. It's just amazing because he carried on and you could tell that he was rocked, but he cracked on doing some pretty high spots, just doing Ricochet doing Ricochet things for several minutes after that. The guy's a nutter. Wrestlers just mental, aren't they?
The phenomenal power of muscle memory. The best that I've got it is when I can't remember like my pin number, so I move my hands in midair and I go, oh yeah, that's the number, right? I'm not going to do it now because you'll steal from my bank, you monster. But the wrestlers have that times 10 because they can kind of go through a standard match without really thinking on it. Now, the finish that went down saw Miz pick up the win. What we were meant to see was Miz and Ivar both get simultaneous 3 counts that would lead to a match on Raw next week. The plan, according to Dave Meltzer, still was always going to be Miz challenging Gunter at Survivor Series. That hasn't changed, but that extra layer of jeopardy has slightly gone. They're having the match on Raw next week anyway, but it's only because Ivar attacked Miz at the end. So it's a grudge match rather than a top contenders match.
I think they're making the best out of a bad situation, and I'm really happy that Ivar is still getting a proper featured singles match. Former WWE champion, The Miz, and I think we all knew, like the way the storyline was going, The Miz was always going to come out on top eventually. But the fact that they haven't just gone, scrap the match, shows to me that they've got faith in Ivar as a singles guy, and I think that's awesome because he's doing great work right now. Really is.
The other name to add, as well as Ricochet, currently out of action and on the concussion protocol list, is Fallon Henley. She suffered what seems to be a head injury at the end of her match with Tiffany Stratton on NXT. She took the best moonsault, the prettiest moonsault ever from Strat, and her head bounced off the mat. And it's around about this point we think that was where the head injury occurred. It might have been earlier in the match, but it seems when you look back at the match, that's the most likely place it could have happened.
I watched it back, and you see the head go. I didn't notice anything earlier on in the match. Again, this is sort of like it's difficult to know how long these people are going to be off of TV. Again, we always celebrate it when it happens. In the concussions are taken so seriously, they will be constantly evaluated as the weeks progress, and they'll only be allowed back on TV when they're ready to be back on TV, which is a good thing. Sending our best.
Sending our best. We don't know when they'll be back, nor do we know when John Cena will be back. On Instagram yesterday, he shared like the Looney Tunes graphic with the words "the end," and we all kind of went, okay, well that's him saying that's the end of my WWE run. Off back to Hollywood I go. They've sounded the horn. Actually, that might have been in reference to something completely different.
Yeah, numerous Hollywood outlets reported yesterday that the Coyote versus Acme, the Warner Brothers movie that John Cena was starring in, will not be released despite being completed. So it's more likely to be a reference to that, not the end of his wrestling career in Saudi Arabia. Instead, they're taking a $30 million tax write-off as opposed to spending money on the release and the marketing of the movie. They've just given up on it, basically.
Yeah, so this is going to be the live-action Wile E. Coyote movie that was meant to come out in the summer, but they bumped it in favor of the Barbie movie, which was absolutely the right thing to do because it's the highest-grossing Warner Brothers movie of all time.
Was it?
Yeah, and Warner could do with it because the coffers have been a little bit light for Warner as of late.
I really feel for them, actually.
Heart-wrenching for them. Just £1 a month. You can help Batgirl finally get released. Because same thing happened with Batgirl. It was all finished, ready to go, and they went, we're going to spend so much money on marketing this bad boy.
And they didn't think it was going to make it back, so they just went, nah.
So they just went, we'll leave it. We'll just bob it on the head. So unfortunately, it's gone the way of Batgirl, which might have been what John Cena was probably alluding to.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just about to start analysing whether I thought or not Coyote versus Acme would do well at the pictures or not. I don't think it would.
No,
I don't think it's necessarily a bad shout by Warner Brothers to scrap that. I feel sorry for John Cena. He's put the work in.
As long as he got paid.
Yeah, he's still got paid.
Paid for it. That's the main thing, isn't it? That's the main thing. Looking ahead to January, Royal Rumble season nearly upon us once again, the most wonderful time of the year. We would love for you to join us at Box Park in Wembley for a Royal Rumble watch party with Hooked on Wrestling. Myself, Fraser Porter, Sam Driver, Cultaholic, Lads et al. Are going to be heading down, and I'm going to be doing an on-stage Q&A. I'm so excited with Fred Ottman, a.k.a. Typhoon, a.k.a. Toot Toot Tugboat, a.k.a. the Shockmaster. So excited. Can't wait.
Should be.
Buzzing.
It's weird because I watched an interview with him. I spent a good 45 minutes listening to that man's voice very, very recently before all this got announced and everything. And he's a lovely chap.
Oh, he just seems like the sweetest man. He looks a bit like my Uncle Graham. And
He's Uncle Fred.
He's Uncle Fred.
He is Uncle Fred.
He's Uncle Fred.
What I love about him is he realised, like, he was obviously really embarrassed by the Shockmaster thing, but he's properly embraced it now, and he's totally cool chatting about it and knows that's what people want to hear, even like that. The biggest flub in wrestling history, apart from maybe Booker T saying you know what, and yeah. And like he is part of wrestling history because of that. He's a big part of wrestling history, and he did like really great stuff as Typhoon Tugboat in WWE. Was a really sort of featured guy there for a time, but now we just want to talk about him falling through the wall, don't we? Good for him.
Come and get involved, right? Tickets are like from like £8 to have the weirdest fever dream of your life, watching the Royal Rumble with us and Tugboat. Like,
how is that happening?
That's an £8 fever dream, that is. What a life. What a life.
Money well spent.
Come say hi. Can't wait to see you at Box Park in Wembley. Hooked on Wrestling putting on watch parties for the Rumble all over the country as well. HO Wrestling on Twitter or X to find out more about them. I tell you what, no party for Tony Khan. There was talks yesterday by Essie Scoops that he could slash Ring of Honor as part of a cost-cutting measure. That's according to a source within AEW. And a big issue with Ring of Honor has been a lack of TV presence, and it's an issue that could have been resolved by now, we've discovered this week.
Yeah, absolutely. A high-level CW executive approached Khan at the LA Forum in June 2022 about bringing Ring of Honor content to the network. From what they understand, though, Khan did not pursue talks with the CW, as he refuses to seriously entertain new deals for Ring of Honor until AEW TV rights are in play, which will be in 2024. So it sounds like he's not even looking for it at the moment. He's not fussed.
No.
Instead, he's happy for Ring of Honor to poison AEW programming and totally get in the way.
This is fine.
It really, really pisses me off now, and I love Ring of Honor. Like the lineage of those titles should be celebrated. But if I'm tuning into AEW, I'm tuning in for AEW, and it really pisses me off. I just think it takes time away from people who should be getting that time, and the brand as a whole.
House of Wrestling goes on to report that Tony Khan feels that by waiting, he'll have more options and leverage in the marketplace. It's an interesting time because, like, you've just had Fox, who have happily let SmackDown walk off after a deal where even SmackDown wasn't hitting the numbers that they promised. And SmackDown's probably the biggest, outside of Raw, probably the biggest TV IP in the wrestling industry.
Yeah, sure.
And that's not hitting the sides that Fox was hoping. So I'd be intrigued to see kind of what deal comes from it, if one does come from it, if he's not going to go with something with the CW. CW have been really, a lot of wrestling conversations. I know they were chatting to United Wrestling Network. I know that there's talks about the deal they've got with WOW, and of course the deal signing with NXT. Something that the SmackDown general manager and former NWA World Champion Nick Aldis had a little bit of fun with.
Yeah, he did. He shared a graphic yesterday promoting NXT moving to the CW, accompanying it with the song Into the Fire, which you might be familiar with. It's the old theme music for NWA
Into
Power.
the Fire.
I am... You know what? You've got to be a real dick to piss Nick Aldis off. The guy is renowned for being one of the most professional people in the industry, and he carried that company and the title for an awful long time. He was doing fantastic work there and really gave it his all, made it all about the NWA, and then they totally dicked him over, and now he's having a pop at their expense. Good for him. Billy Corgan's a dickhead, isn't he? You know what? I was so excited, like when the takeover initially happened, because it's always been clear that like he's such a massive fan of pro wrestling and he's pretty old school, and I think he's just lost complete goodwill from some of his most ardent supporters just because of his twatty behaviour and the stupid things that he said in interviews. And he's a bit of a dafty, isn't he?
He's a little bit of a dafty. But that comes up, in case you've missed the memo on this week, NWA have been touting for the last couple of weeks a TV deal with the CW. And then their pay-per-view around Halloween weekend, Samhain, we have James Mitchell doing something with a bit of white powder. And the CW, apparently, this led to them speeding up the negotiation process with WWE. And Billy Corgan has since said, no, we've still got a thing happening, it's all right, but he's gone very quiet on the matter.
And he's not talking to the talent, apparently. The report going round is that he's just sort of stepped back and has taken a little time to maybe think about his actions.
He's currently the Homer Simpson hedge gif, is Billy Corgan, with all of this going on. So we'll see how that plays out. Nick Aldis, who, as you say, did a lot of work for the NWA, having a little bit of fun at their expense on the socials.
Yeah, and he was the biggest thing there. He, at the time, perhaps felt bigger than the company at various points. And he still totally gave it his all and tried to build that company. And then I think they treated him like a dickhead. And it's good for him.
Good for you. You're the best dressed man in wrestling still. Hey, we'll have more wrestling news throughout the day at cultaholic.com. Stay safe. Love you. Bye.